All right, special edition of the money quotes and the final wrap up of practice. Texans practice today on Saturday. Shout out to everyone who joined myself and Cody Stoots out there at Spanky's yesterday. Camera's a little bit different because I left my webcam with Stoots. So Stoots has the webcam, so it is a little bit different. So bear with me. It's a special Saturday, and we will get this rolling. Talked to Jared Patterson today, the new center for the Texans, kind of new old center, if you want to say. Myself and Cody caught up with him. We'll hear from him. We'll also hear the money quotes, but let's react to the big news. Confirmed news, as expected news. We now have confirmation that Christian Kirk, Braxton Berrios, and Jake Andrews will miss the game against Tampa Bay. So that means Patterson starts. That means maybe Jalen Noel does something, and then maybe we see something at tight end. But confirming what we already suspected, the Texans are going to be shorthanded on the slot, and they're going to be down to yet another combination on the offensive line. Now, all signs point to that offensive line being minus Jared Patterson in for Andrews. All signs point to that being what they wanted to roll with in the first place, with Titus Howard at right tackle, Ariante Arcery at left tackle, Laken Tomlinson at left guard, and Evan Ingram at right guard, which might be an interesting thing to say the very least. Jared Patterson will be the guy that is going to be the center. CJ Stroud kind of put out some interesting information that apparently his nickname is Slime. And I'll be honest, and maybe I got to hit myself with it right off the top. Did not anticipate that Jared Patterson's nickname would be Slime. Let's get to the bottom of that. Let's hear what Jared Patterson had to say. Myself and Cody caught up with him today. Less than 48 hours away from the game against Tampa Bay. Let's hear what Jared Patterson had to say. It's actually more than 48 hours, but I'm not good at math. Let's hear from Jared. Here's what Jared Patterson had to say about everything going on with the Texans and him going back in the starting lineup.
So how you feeling heading into the game against Tampa Bay with you most likely being the starter? How you feeling?
I feel good, excited about the game plan. The week of practice we had, I felt like we had a really good week of practice. Like, obviously, everything has to be crisp and like your fundamentals, but like the intent of practice this week, I felt was a step up from last week. So excited to go out there with the guys and play a little ball.
So what was the difference for you when obviously there's kind of a different mindset on the O-line, different coach, all that. What was that like for you? Like when you look in the mirror and say, I need to improve this from 2024 to 2025.
I mean, it's good. Like Pop, like he's brutally honest with us. Like he's direct. No beating around the bush. I mean, for me, I feel like the scheme it's very. I feel like it's an O-line friendly scheme, right? You can hammer out double teams, going to the backers, working together. Communication, I feel like in this offense is better. Everyone's more in tune with each other. Quarterbacks, backs, everyone's locked into protections. And for me, like that's why I excel at. Like I'm a very smart player. I know I am. I study. I'll make sure everyone knows what to do out there. When I'm out there.
What's it like on the studying angle? What's it like watching the tape with the big man that you're going to line up against? What does he bring to the table? And I just like that seems like it would be like a little bit more of an intense study, or at least viewing how much of a massive human.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like everyone knows like the size and the power, but like a lot of people don't realize who like don't dive into his film, like his ability to beat double teams like a swim move, his finesse, like the way he's able to move. He's one of the best nose tackles in the NFL for a reason. So I mean, yeah, it's a huge challenge for all of us on the inside. Maybe a line game for tackles as well. Like he's a great player, so he'd be dialed in because you give him a little something, he's gonna beat you.
When you think about like what this offense can be when it's looked good in practice, how exciting is it when it's like, hey, we just fixed this small thing here, like we really got something to work with here?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I mean, the biggest thing is like we can't get a drive, 20, 30 yards down the field, and then next thing you know, we're second and 25. Like, Coach Nick doesn't have a lot of play calls in the sheet for second and 25, third and 20. So like we got to stop putting ourselves in that situation because I know last year like we led the league in third and a mile by a lot of plays. Like we can't keep doing that because it's gonna make the game so much harder for us. Like we got to stay ahead of the chains, no penetration and run game, just keep diving forward. Even like second and 8 is a whole different ball game than second and 12.
You talked about you guys' familiarity, how that's over the communication. Is that carried over to this new system as well? Ease of communication?
Yeah, absolutely. Like between like the center, quarterbacks, and back, like the protection scheme, everything's so much more in tune. Everyone knows what they're doing. Even the receivers are in tune to certain protection calls, depending on the scheme or what we're trying to attack. So I mean, I feel like this offense for us, like I love the communication aspect. It was really challenging at first in spring, a whole different system than we're used to. But once we just took reps and time, I feel like now everyone's really got it down.
CJ also kind of let us in on the
he told me he leaked it.
This was a surprise of the week here.
Where does slime come from?
It's like an acronym for like bro, basically. That's the best way I can put it. Okay. But he told me he leaked it. I was like yeah, see.
we were worried it was maybe a hygiene thing.
No, it's not like a hygiene like nasty sweat thing. No, it's like it's like an acronym for bro. That's what it is.
I know the slime reference. You were at the bottom of the depth chart of guesses of the nickname slime.
Slime, I figured that's probably the biggest surprising aspect. Yeah.
All right, we appreciate you, man.
All right, there you go. It's Jared Patterson. And shout out to everyone who came out to Spanky's. We got some big news. We will be back there on the 26th, less than 2 weeks. I think we were 45 plus deep. It's going to be even bigger. It's only going to get better. Shout out to the entire team, Frank, the founder, his daughters, perfection. And it was great food. It was great fun. So be sure to join us two Fridays from now out there at Spanky's. I don't know how Jared Patterson's going to do. The one thing I like about Jared Patterson is that he is a good pass blocker. That's one of his strengths. That is his strength as a football player. It is the pass blocking. Now we'll see what it looks like in a world where there's been a lot of disappointing offensive linemen. Jared Patterson has just kind of remained steady. 6th-round pick. He's been right there at center. He's been hot and ready like a Little Caesars pizza, except when he got hurt, and he's ready to go. He's been consistent, and he's actually one of the few offensive linemen in this organization that has actually reached his expectations. Like the realistic expectations that you laid out for him, Jared Patterson is one of those guys that you have. And in the trenches, there's good news and there's bad news when it comes to the Texans. Good news is that Tampa Bay's offensive line sucks. They're not good either. They allowed 40+% pressure rate. So that's the good news. Bad news is your offensive line allowed 40% pressure rate. So you have the advantage on one end, and then you don't have the advantage on the other. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on when it comes to that. Nick Caley, he spoke yesterday. Cody Stoots said that he has Patriots vibes. I think that's interesting. I asked Nick Caley, and this was a big Bill O'Brien thing back in the day where Bill O'Brien said the rookies don't know anything, and he never would really play rookies. I asked Nick Caley, what in the hell does Woody Marks have to do, and what in the hell does Jalen Noel have to do? I didn't ask it like that, but you know what I mean. What do they got to do to get more reps? I asked Nick Caley. This is what he had to say.
What do Woody Marks and Jalen Noel need to do to earn more reps? Like, what does a rookie need to do to earn more reps?
I think whether you're a rookie, whether you're a vet, I think just being consistent and consistently going out there and producing. And those guys have had, good play throughout training camp and stuff like that. And it's a matter of just going out and being, their consistent version of themselves and working hard. And naturally, you're going to improve. You care, you work at it. Okay, you're going to continue to improve. And they've shown improvement along the way. I'm pleased with them.
All right, you're pleased with them, but they play like the percentage of snaps that they play was really low, and it's really alarming when you look at Jalen Noel and the fact that he was kind of a luxury pick, and you don't have, and officially you're not going to have on Sunday, you don't have 2 slot receivers, and he doesn't even get in there. So you've been pleased with him, obviously not that pleased to where he's not even getting on the field. So I find that interesting that he says that, but that just kind of is what it is. Now, the other thing that's happened this week, as we kind of head into the game, normally we would do this on Friday night. I was at Spanky's and they practiced today, so kind of got it there. That's why the cam is what it is right now. But they need to help out Nick Caley, according to DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud. And DeMeco and Stroud are taking a lot of blame for the loss. I don't know if they're just trying to make Nick Caley comfortable, but between DeMeco saying he liked what Caley did and CJ Stroud saying this, it's very clear that they believe they need to help Nick Caley out, and it's on them
So we
too.
got to help Kels out, man. I think that's my biggest thing personally, and I think for the guys is not giving. What play are you going to call on 2nd and 15, 2nd and 25? When we've had these problems for years, So 3rd and 14, 3rd and 12, like you can't live in that, and we do our coaches discourtesy of that and that's controllable by us. So I think that's a start. Personally, I got to be better just pocket movements and, checking the ball down when I need to check it down. And at the same time, staying aggressive. So, I think we just need to build a rhythm early on better. And I think we'll be better from that.
Yeah, and I think the rhythm goes down to penalties. I mean, there's forgivable penalties, and there's unforgivable. And I think DeMeco Ryans has kind of basically indirectly said the defensive penalties are based on aggression. The offensive penalties are based on a lack of organization. So we'll see what that looks like, but that's kind of what they said. Let's go to the soup real quick.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Logan Taylor says, who are your sleeper picks of the game, H-Town? So I put together the sleeper. I'm going to put together another sleeper pick, but my sleeper picks, and shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video. I have Nico Collins higher than receptions. I have Nick Chubb lower than yards. And I have Baker Mayfield less than yards. So for the game, I would say DeMeco handles Baker less than yards. Nico Collins more receptions because they've all said that they need to get him more receptions. And Nick Chubb, it feels like it's kind of like a buy high situation. Nick Chubb is a less than yards. So that's where I'm at on that when it comes to the sleeper picks. As far as the actual another sleeper thing that I had, and the sleeper, by the way, sleeper is a good escape from the BS that goes on social media when it comes to following the game, when it comes to seeing what's going on, when it comes to everything else. It's amazing what Sleeper has become for me. It's become the go-to fantasy app for my league. It's become the place to go for scores. It's become the place to go for the higher, lower, and everything that comes with it. And you can use the promo code LOCKER and get 100% deposit match up to $100. I really love this app. I loved it for a while. It's an honor that they even let me ride along. But this is my sleeper pick for Sunday, which is always fun when you get to sit back and watch on Sunday and you don't have to cover a game. You kind of get to relax, and then you got the Monday night. So I feel like people are low on Caleb Williams right now, rightfully so, because he missed a lot of targets. I'm taking the over and the yards against the Lions. Brian Thomas Jr., I'm taking a touchdown. Liam Cohen called out Trevor Lawrence for not throwing it well to Brian Thomas. I'm taking the over on the touchdown. Nico Collins yards, I'm taking over 74.5. I'm taking CJ Stroud over 1.5 passing TDs, and his college teammate Jackson Smith and Jigba from Rockwall, Texas. I'm taking over 69.5. Now these odds are crazy. That's a 26-1 odds right there. So that is a very, very, very high they would say risk, but I like this. I like Caleb Williams to throw for 222.5, whether they win or lose. Brian Thomas to score a touchdown. Nico to have over 75. JSN to have over 69.5. And CJ to throw 2 touchdown passes. That's 26-1. So you put $10 in. Let's say you put $10 into your account right now and you use the promo code LOCKER. You're going to have 20 in your account. You put that 10. If you win, you're going to have 260. It is a game of skill. That's what this is. This is a 100% game of skill, and that's why I like Sleeper, and that's what I'm going with. So we'll see how that whole thing goes, but I like that one a lot, and we've been doing relatively well when it comes to the Sleeper. Back to Z Super Chat.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Evan says, I'm worried Vita Vea might ruin the run game. Yeah, I mean, you should be. You very much should be. I don't know that running the ball is the recipe for success. Evan also says, I need CJ to silence the critics. I still believe. You should still believe. It's fine. There's been nothing to get rid of that. Avery asks, is Arch Manning slime? No, he's not. It's not pretty right now. It's not pretty right now, but we'll see. You know, it's college football Saturday. Y'all know how stressed I get. I'm watching on my YouTube TV. I got the 4 screens up. Was going to be Tech and Oregon State. They're in the weather delay. Sarkisian's sitting there. He puts more effort into his sunglasses than his effing. I was almost going to cuss. Than his effing red zone offense. And then you have Georgia, Tennessee on the bottom, and then on the far left. Shout out to YouTube TV for the 4 screen setup. Nick Caley's press conference, according to Cody Stoots and according to many, had Patriots vibes. Does that bother you that much? Are you bothered by Nick Caley having Patriots way vibes? It doesn't really bother me. I want to see what they do now. The one thing that I look at when I look at the negative connotations of Patriots. So there's a couple of things that Bill O'Brien did that kind of annoyed me. One of them was he didn't trust rookies. I'm hoping this was a 1-week thing and Nick Caley gets over that. You got to trust rookies more. It's a new league. Like, they make impacts. This isn't the old school hardo BS. So you got to trust rookies. So I'm gonna count that as a one-off, and I'm gonna hope that Nick Caley actually trusts rookies, which he should, instead of trusting Dare Ogunbowale and not even I don't even know what he did in the slot. Nothing. I mean, give Jalen Noel some sort of a chance to make a play. I don't mind how you sound, because a lot of times, like the Patriots, they have coaching cliches, and a lot of the coaches say it, but it's just the way that they deliver it. I don't think Nick Caley delivers it like Bill O'Brien, Matt Patricia, Mangini, like all the blowhards who sucked that ended up failing as Patriots assistants, that ended up kind of getting elevated and failing in those situations. So I'm not down on Nick Caley when it comes to that, but I do really hope that this rookie thing and whatever the hell else is going on, that you can figure that out. There are a lot of weather delays today on the chat. Every stadium in the NFL should have a retractable roof option. The college situation, it kind of is what it is. I think we might get to the point where that's the case. But it's you got to have the indoor options. I agree there are too many weather delays. There's no excuse for that, especially with how much people are having to pay for tickets and being forced to pay for tickets. You don't want to be uncomfortable. I know a lot of people say, oh, snow is football. Okay, go sit your ass in the anyone who says that's real football, their ass should have to go sit and watch in the stands. It's usually like really cheap whenever there's like really crappy weather. Go sit in the stands and watch that game and tell me how much you enjoyed that. Absolute joke. Just really, really embarrassing when it comes to when it comes to that. Rick has an interesting point when he's not trying to be a bad engineer. He says that how many rings did the Patriots earn? You could emulate worse organizations. That's wrong. That's not true. Just because you're copying something that's the best, it's actually worse than copying things that aren't at that level. Like I always use this example. Like in the 90s, how many busted ass chicks were there that tried to copy Pam Anderson? And all of a sudden they have bad spray tans, bad boob jobs, and ratchet ass barbed wire tattoos on their arm. So just because you're copying the best doesn't mean it's worse. Matter of fact, there's a big boom factor when it comes to that. So yeah, you're copying them, but you're copying them for the wrong reasons. Like, go find Tom Brady. Go get a defensive mastermind like Bill Belichick. I know Bill Belichick's low-hanging fruit right now, but go get a defensive mastermind like Bill Belichick. Go get a Tom Brady and quit trying to copy all the other bullshit in between that doesn't impact anything positively on the field. So you don't copying the best is actually it actually kind of goes wrong more so than anything. You see Elvis impersonators, they're a joke. They're a joke. Elvis was the king of rock and roll. They're a joke. Pam Anderson, all the bad boob jobs she created, terrible. She's one of the goddesses of the 90s. So I don't agree with you when it comes to like, oh, you could copy worse. Nah, we've seen that trying to copy the Patriot way doesn't necessarily work out. Just doesn't work out. Let's go through the money quotes of the week here in the locker room. Let's go through the money quotes of the week. Normally we do this on Friday, but today we are going to do it because they practiced today. So money quote number 1 is DeMeco praising, or should I say DeMeco without the O. He praises the offensive line, and then he blames the red zone defense, despite being the only team in the NFL to give up 14 points or less and take the L. Take it away, DeMeco.
I thought our offensive line did a good job. Again, in the game, we can help ourselves by stepping up in the pocket on a couple of the sacks that happened. But again, I thought we had clean pockets versus the Rams as well. So there were a lot of good things that happened versus the Rams. They made more plays than we made, and that's the bottom line. We hurt ourselves in the red zone defensively. We were down in the red zone 3 times. 2 times we gave up touchdowns in the red zone, right? We stop them. We make them kick field goals there, right? We're sitting here telling a different story. So, again, it'll always be about us and what we do, how we execute. We execute the right way, we'll put ourselves in favorable position to win games.
All right, so here's my problem with that. He's dealing in reality when it comes to expecting more from the defense and not really expecting much from the offensive line. And we're both aligned in that mindset. So I agree with DeMeco on that. Here's my problem. I just wish that there was more like comfort in DeMeco to call out the offense than the defense. Because that's where I think like where he's trying to fight the reputation and the deserved reputation based on what we see with like the skewed line between the offense and the defense. I wish that he would have a willingness to call out the offense. Now, he did kind of call out CJ Stroud this week, in fairness, when it comes to recognizing in the pocket, getting out of the huddle. But he doesn't directly do it, but he will directly call out the defense. Like, if these pre-snap penalties are a big thing, like Laramie Tunsil was never called out for his penalties. But he like broadly says it, but then in the same category, he says, well, the offensive line played good. Okay, you said the biggest problem was that you had pre-snap penalties. It's clearly the offensive line and getting behind the chains. So how can you then in the same breath say they played good? And then with the defense put together a winning effort. So you're calling them out despite that. It's reality. We agree. Like, the defense is held to a higher standard, but you're talking out of both ends when you say that the offensive line played fine, but you can't get those pre-snap penalties. Maybe he just thinks they're not good, which wouldn't be the craziest thought. It is the money quotes of the week here in the locker room. Landry Locker with you. Be sure to like the video. Be sure to join us at Spanky's the 26th. We'll be there the 26th. Yesterday was a big hit. Shout out to Frank and his daughters and everything that they got going on. It's one of my favorite family businesses. I take a lot of pride in being able to partner with a family business like Spanky's, and it was incredible. And everyone who showed up, shout out to y'all. We'll be back there the 26th. We hope to do it throughout the season as well. Money quote number 2. I thought CJ Stroud did a good job of using his legs. I think he needs to use his legs more often. I think he's a better quarterback when he uses his legs. This was a good interaction. I also like the CJ Stroud impression because we all know someone that we watch football with that sounds like this. He should have ran. He should have thrown. CJ Stroud has heard it before. Here's CJ Stroud, a little back and forth with your boy, talking about running the ball and the balance of having to stay in the pocket and doing that. This is good stuff from CJ.
How did you feel you used your legs in the first half to move the chains a couple times, lay the points? Were you pleased with the way that you did that?
Yeah, I was. I thought I did it when I should have, and thought I made some plays. So I thought it went well.
Is that kind of like when you're in the pocket, you're getting pressured? Is there kind of like a balance between hanging in there and trying to find the receiver and use the legs? Is that one of the tougher battles for a quarterback?
Yeah, definitely. Because when you don't run, everybody's like, oh, he should have ran, and when you don't throw, he should have threw it. So I'm always wrong. But it's cool. Like, it's part of the game, and I love watching it. I think some of the best guys in the league are like Burrow. He does a great job of it. Lamar, I think Lamar is to me, of course, he's very dynamic running the ball, but he's a pass guy, and he does a really good job of sitting in the pocket and only extending when he has to. So, I think, when I watch games around the league, a lot of guys do it well, and I try to just be one of those guys as well.
He is good, and it does remind me a lot of Burrow when he does use his legs. But CJ's good at it, man. Like he is really really good at it. He's good at hanging in the pocket, and a lot like the good comes with the bad. Like it's kind of an interesting balance, and I think he does bring up a good point where you say he should have ran it, he should have thrown it, and you all like when you're sitting at whether you're sitting in the bar, whether you're sitting in the press box, like it's so easy to say, but the QB view is just so much different than what we actually see, but the way in which he does it when it is going well is nice. But in those games, sometimes you'll see him lose yards on a sack, and it's frustrating. And I thought Sean Pendergast did a good job on the Texans Collective this week with SNL and Reginald Atatula and Sean of laying out the yardage loss between a Stafford sack and a CJ Stroud sack. And I agree with that. But I also didn't see Stafford using his legs like CJ. So there's kind of like a give or take. With the bad come the good, with the good come the bad. It just sometimes kind of is like that. And yes, I just did quote Limp Bizkit. Some of y'all might not be fans of that, but yes, I absolutely did quote Limp Bizkit. It is the Locker Room, #1 source for Texans digital content. Happy College Football Saturday to all. Special edition. Webcam is with Stoots, so we got the backup in. But there ain't no backup when it comes to this. Texans turf. Texans turf is the #1 place to get your yard done in Houston. I know because I shopped around. And I know because my yard looks fantastic and a lot of my neighbors' yards look fantastic. A lot of listeners, viewers, their yards look fantastic. I recommend the backyard. Front yard, cool. Keep it together. But in the backyard, you go outside, your kids play, your dogs play, they drag in mud, there's insects. It's hard to keep up with the grass. The backyard, whether it's a play area, whether it's turf, all that. When you get the turf in there, the putting green, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. It looks good. You water it. It's easier to clean up after the dog, and it's just a fantastic experience. Shout out to Dan and his team, TexansTurf.com. They got the military discount. They have the financing. They'll look out for you, and you'll take so much pride in your yard. I shout out to everyone who has the natural grass. That's awesome. But I take a lot of pride in this because it looks really good and it's really safe for the family. And it was 100% worth it. So hit up Dan at TexansTurf.com. Ask him what he can do for you, and they will always customize it. If you have trees in the back, they'll work around it. They are the very best. They are hardworking guys, and they put a lot into it. You see a lot of turf advertisements, but I actually shopped around. I shopped around for you because I was a customer before this partnership, and I am 100% happy with Texans Turf. I will put everything that I love on the line for Texans Turf when it comes to the recommendation. I would not steer you the wrong way. So if you're thinking about it, check it out, TexansTurf.com. Shout out to Dan and his squad. Let's go to money quote #3. CJ Stroud says they need to feed Nico. I would agree. I think most people would agree. And I also think that Nick Caley would agree. Nick, what say you? I asked him the question. This is what he had to say.
Nico said it's probably ideal to get Nico the ball more. What goes into that? Is that maybe getting him involved in the quick game? Is maybe kind of on the quarterback too? What goes into getting Nico more catches?
Nico's a huge part of our team, obviously. So we always have Nico at the forefront of our mind. And there's always an approach every single week to get our players in position to make plays. And credit to the Rams in that case last week. And we had got to go forward. We got when you're off schedule, you can take your game plan, and it makes it a little bit more challenging. You try to adjust from there. But Nico's a huge part of our team, and a big time player for us, and we love him.
All righty. Yeah. Okay. We'll see. Again, higher in any category on sleeper when it comes to Nico Collins. DeMeco Ryan said it. CJ said it. Nick Caley said it. What more do you need to hear? That's putting the coconuts on the table. That's putting the coconuts on the table. That's not one person saying that. That is an aligned thought. So when it comes to sleeper, again, put $10 in and take the higher when it comes to Nico. CJ said it, the quarterback. The head coach said it, and the OC said it. Get him the ball more. This is a transparent test that they've put upon themselves. Transparent. They've all said it. They're not beating around the bush. DeMeco directly said it. CJ directly said it. And Nick Caley directly said it. What more do you need when it comes to Nico Collins and getting the rock? They all said it. So it's very, very easy to lean towards the higher when it comes to making your sleeper predictions this week, this Monday night. How much harder does it get? Charge it to the game if it doesn't happen. And I will hold them accountable. I promise you at the pressers if it does not happen. Top 3 guys said it. So feed Nico Collins. What does that look like? They got to figure it out. But if you lose this game and Nico Collins does not get the rock, that's on the 3 most important people in this organization when it comes to being good. DeMeco, CJ, Caley. The face of the defense, DeMeco. No O. CJ, the franchise quarterback. Nick Caley, the OC. What more do you need? It's right there in front of you. Use the promo code LOCKER when you go to Sleeper and put that in. Money quote 4. The penalties. So this is interesting. You hear this all the time. We can't get behind the chains. We've got to get in front of the chains. We got to figure it out. You can't do that when it's blah, 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 this down and that down and blah, blah, blah. You got to figure it out. Okay. So you are going to put an extra emphasis on that when it wasn't one of the core axioms when I asked Nick Caley about it? So you are really going to harp on it, but you are harping on it before. And I thought Nick Caley did a good job when I asked him the question of at least remembering that I asked him the core axioms and that was already a thing. So you hear, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do this. Well, y'all been saying that for a while. So explain that to me. Nick Caley will do that in Money Quote 4.
How does that get taught? I'm assuming y'all focused on that in camp. So
sure.
How does that get taught and corrected?
Focus on it every day. You know, that's the building block. The day when we come in here in phase 1, that's before we talk about any plays. We talk about our operation, you asked about the axioms, all those things. So you hold people accountable and you practice it. And, you got to do it in practice to be able to do it in the game. So just continuing to refine it and learn from those opportunities. Early in the season, there'll be mistakes here and there's going to be a mistake here and there in the game. They get paid too across from us, but we got to be more consistent from that regard. And it just starts, again, on Wednesday or Thursday of this week, et cetera.
All right, so it starts on Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, it started in freaking when you got here. So I get what he's saying, but I just don't know. Like a lot of times, I think it's kind of talent based. Like you try to overcompensate. Like if let's say that you're a college student, and let's say that you're dumb. I'm looking at this Texas situation right now as I'm speaking. And what they got going on. But anyway, so like if you're a college student and let's say you're dumb or you're just not as smart or you're lazy and then you have to play a game. Like when you play a game, like in the NFL, like you're either not capable of performing at a high level, you're lazy and you didn't prepare enough. But once the test comes in, you still got to succeed and you still got to try to do your best. Sometimes you try to cheat. You try to look at the Scantron next to you. You try to figure out what's going on. Sometimes you get caught. That's kind of how penalties are sometimes. I always hear like, well, it's a lack of discipline. Yeah, maybe it's a lack of discipline, but maybe the offensive linemen suck. And they know that they have no chance of beating the guy's ass in front of them. So they have to try to get a head start. Or once that guy beats their ass, they have to hold them. It's just as much that as it is lack of discipline. And I actually think DeMeco Ryans, when it comes to talking about the penalties, he's right. Like being overly aggressive sometimes is a good thing. Sometimes that's a good thing. You're aggressive. And like Henry To'oTo'o picks up a penalty, but you know what? In other situations, he's going to force a fumble. In situations after that, he's going to scare the guy to where he's probably not going to complete his route. So sometimes that happens, but a lot of times penalties, it's not just discipline. Like if you're going against, like if you're fighting Brock Lesnar, like you're not going to just be able to line up and be undisciplined. You're going to have to figure out some way to beat Brock Lesnar's ass. And more times than not, he's going to beat your ass. So when you're outmanned the way that the Texans are on the offensive line, and I feel, I won't speak for you, but I feel like a lot of these guys are outmanned when it comes to their one-on-one battles. There's a lot going through your head before the whistle before the snap is made, and you're having to figure that out. So I think there's a nice balance between discipline and you're just outmanned, you're going to get your ass whooped, and you're trying to overcompensate for knowing or getting your ass whooped. So that's the reality, man. Like, you can put an emphasis on it. You can beat it in the head. But, like, if Blake Fisher is going out there and having to block anyone, then what are you going to say? Be undisciplined? I mean, it's impossible because he's going to get his ass whooped. And that's been the reality with this offensive line. Be sure to like the video. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. We got one money quote left. But let's go to the chat. Real quick, we got a fantasy question. My gosh, we always got fantasy questions, and my method of fantasy is not ideal, but I'll answer this one, Danny. Fantasy question: should I start Baker versus Houston or May versus Miami? I would start May versus Miami. I don't think Baker's going to feast on the Texans defense. I think they're too good for that. So I would start May versus Miami, although I don't feel awesome about that. I would love to see you work the waiver wire, but I would have to figure that out. I don't feel awesome about either one. Your QB situation's rough. You must have been one of those wait to draft the QB dudes. Final money quote of the week. Nick Caley. Talking about the penalties. How about CJ Stroud talking about what it's like, what the dynamic is like between him and Nick Caley after a rough performance?
What's the dynamic and collaboration like between quarterback and offensive coordinator after a tough game? And what's it been like the first time around with Nick Caley?
It's good. It's like everything in life. You don't just go out there and sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but most of the time you don't go out there and just ace it. So there's a communication that you have to have. I think he does a good job of asking me a lot of questions. I ask him a lot of questions. So figure it out and, move on.
Okay. Figure it out, move on. Okay. See what it looks like. There's been a lot of talking. There was a lot of hype for Caley. We haven't seen it. I think we need to revisit this. And I think we need to revisit this almost every week. But let's revisit just so we know what the core axioms are. The foundations of offensive football when it comes to Nick Caley. What are they? Let's revisit this. He brought it up when I asked him the question about penalties. Let's revisit this and let's just remember what their goal was heading into the season and what the teaching points were and what they are heading into Tampa Bay. I think this is really important. Let's revisit this. Shout out to everyone in the chat.
You've mentioned a couple times now core axioms when talking about the offense.
Yep.
How does that, is that like an overall theme of the offense? Is it a position by position thing? Can you talk about core axioms specifically?
Yeah, I would say specifically it's playing smart football, not beating yourself. You can't win until you keep from losing. Okay, that's the first thing. So no pre-snap penalties, not turning over the football. That transcends every single position to me on offense. Okay. The second thing that I would say is playing fundamentally sound. Okay, but there's great players in this league. We're going to go against plenty of them this week and every single week from here on out. So if you don't play with good fundamentals, you don't really give yourself the best chance to play. I believe in that to a core. That's how I was raised in this business. The staff believes in that, and so I believe in that for every single position. There's certain techniques that, the line does that may not carry over to receivers, but they both block. Okay, they both have to get a line. They both have to play with a level of urgency, and those are the things that we believe in. And then obviously being a dependable teammate and coming through and having guys trust you next to you, and that carries over into whether it's assignments, whether it's being able to be out there every single day and practicing and giving yourself a chance to get better. So those are the core axioms. I think you have to start there to have a foundation, and then you build it from there.
Develop those. Where did you develop those? Did those something that you become an offensive coordinator and you find that, or is there somewhere along the way where you develop those?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the case when I coached, almost a decade on defense too. I think that for me, that's a belief that I've had since I was a young kid. I've obviously evolved and learned through the years, college stops, New England, Sean, a lot of great coaches that I've had the fortunate opportunity, DeMeco, right there front and center right now. So those are things that we believe in. That's the starting point for us, and we want to go play hard, and we want to play a clean game and play physical with technique and fundamentals and start there.
All right, that was before the Texans went out there and did what they did against the Rams. So the Rams have a good defense, but the core axioms were not practiced, and we know what the core axioms are now, and we'll see how they react to it and how they figure it out. But they were not practiced. So, or they were not executed. They might have been practiced. They weren't like put out when the Texans went out there and performed or didn't perform, depending on how you look at it. So we'll see how the whole thing goes. We'll get the webcam back for the post-game show, and we'll be out there at Spanky's as well. We look forward to y'all being out there with us. Shout out to the whole team out there, and shout out to everyone in the chat. Damn, Nick Caley's getting treated like he's just a Patriot blowhard now. Goodness gracious, what a difference an offseason to actually having to play a game makes. Who knows? Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Let's feast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do.